What if I told you one continent exists where no nation can legally claim permanent ownership despite centuries of determined exploration? Larger than Europe, Antarctica lies buried beneath colossal ice sheets, yet it belongs to everyone while belonging officially to nobody. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and researchers arrive every year, but no government gains sovereignty regardless of investment, presence, or ambition there. Every other continent is divided by recognized borders, while Antarctica remains the only land without universally accepted national ownership today. No capital governs its frozen wilderness, no permanent citizens elect leaders, and no president officially controls the continent every season. That reality seems impossible because history has been shaped by relentless competition for territory, influence, resources, and strategic advantage worldwide. So why did Antarctica escape the cycle of conquest that transformed nearly every other continent across millennia of human civilization? The answer begins centuries before satellites, aircraft, and treaties changed how nations explored, mapped, and understood the distant South completely. For generations, Antarctica existed only as a mysterious idea appearing on ancient maps beside continents known to sailors and scholars. Many thinkers believed a great southern continent balanced Earth's northern lands, although nobody possessed convincing evidence proving it existed anywhere. Driven by curiosity and ambition, courageous sailors crossed dangerous oceans facing violent storms, freezing waters, towering waves, and uncertainty alone. The Southern Ocean earned a terrifying reputation because crushing sea ice, relentless winds, and enormous waves destroyed strong wooden ships. Many expeditions returned empty-handed, while others vanished forever, making Antarctica seem like an impossible destination protected by nature from humanity. Eventually, explorers reached distant coastlines, discovering endless glaciers, towering ice cliffs, and breathtaking landscapes unlike anything previously witnessed on Earth. Instead of fertile valleys or prosperous kingdoms, they encountered relentless cold where survival demanded preparation, resilience, courage, discipline, and determination. Although seemingly lifeless, Antarctica concealed remarkable geological secrets beneath ancient ice, waiting centuries before scientists could uncover their significance fully. Each successful expedition revealed another puzzle piece, encouraging powerful governments to finance increasingly ambitious journeys into the frozen interior wilderness. Exploration gradually became international competition, as nations realized Antarctic discoveries could strengthen prestige, scientific influence, and global reputation for generations. Soon, exploration became competition because powerful nations believed Antarctic discoveries would increase prestige, influence, scientific leadership, and territorial ambitions. Expeditions planted flags, named coastlines, mapped mountains, and quietly imagined Antarctica becoming another possession within expanding empires seeking global dominance. Britain, France, Norway, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, and Chile eventually announced territorial claims covering enormous regions across Antarctica's frozen landscape. Several claims overlapped, creating disputes that could have escalated into international conflicts despite Antarctica's extreme remoteness and hostile environment. Meanwhile, scientists discovered Antarctica offered something greater than territory because its ancient ice preserved Earth's environmental history with remarkable precision. Every glacier contained frozen layers recording atmospheric conditions from long before humanity built cities, kingdoms, civilizations, or written records anywhere. Researchers realized these ice cores revealed changing climates, continental movement, volcanic eruptions, and natural cycles spanning immense geological timescales together. Antarctica gradually transformed from humanity's exploration challenge into the world's valuable natural laboratory supporting scientific discovery through international cooperation. However, political tensions elsewhere created fears that territorial rivalries might eventually spread across Antarctica despite its isolation from populated continents. World leaders recognized military confrontation there would threaten scientific progress while placing lives at unnecessary risk inside Earth's harshest environment. Instead of encouraging conflict, diplomats searched for an unprecedented agreement protecting Antarctica from wars, occupations, military expansion, and territorial disputes. Finding common ground proved difficult because participating nations defended different historical claims, strategic interests, political priorities, and national ambitions simultaneously. Despite disagreements, negotiations gradually revealed shared priorities, placing peaceful scientific cooperation above political rivalry, military competition, and territorial expansion together. That remarkable vision challenged centuries of international behavior because powerful nations rarely abandon territorial ambitions voluntarily after exploration and investment. Against overwhelming expectations, representatives created an agreement unlike previous treaties, governing an entire continent through peaceful cooperation instead of conquest. The decision permanently changed Antarctica's destiny, preserving its frozen wilderness for research, discovery, collaboration, environmental protection, and scientific progress together. How rival nations accepted this extraordinary compromise remains one of history's greatest diplomatic achievements, shaping Antarctica's future even today through lasting cooperation. As Antarctica became increasingly valuable, 7 nations claimed different regions, believing ownership would strengthen influence, security, prestige, and global authority. Britain, France, Norway, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, and Chile formally divided Antarctica using mapped boundaries and official territorial declarations together. Australia claimed nearly 42% of Antarctica, making its territorial claim larger than every other Antarctic claimant combined worldwide then. Argentina and Chile claimed territory. Britain already considered its own, creating overlapping boundaries that intensified diplomatic disputes between governments continually. Official maps displayed nations claiming identical Antarctic land simultaneously, creating unprecedented legal confusion throughout international diplomacy and political negotiations worldwide. The United States rejected Antarctic territorial claims, arguing no nation exercised sufficient permanent control, proving unquestionable sovereignty across frozen landscapes. The Soviet Union adopted the same policy, reserving future rights to submit Antarctic claims whenever changing geopolitical circumstances justified action. Following World War II, Antarctica gained strategic importance as Cold War rivals monitored developments across the isolated continent with suspicion. Scientists remained Antarctica's primary visitors, researching glaciers, weather, wildlife, geology, climate, and hidden environmental mysteries beneath endless ancient ice sheets. Every scientific expedition also demonstrated technological capability, financial resources, logistical strength, and determination, maintaining permanent operations across Antarctica successfully there. Science merged with politics because every research station represented valuable discoveries, while quietly strengthening national influence and international prestige simultaneously. Each newly established station carried scientific equipment, experienced researchers, essential supplies, while proudly displaying its national flag above surrounding ice. Then, in 1957, an extraordinary international scientific project united more than 60 countries through the International Geophysical Year program together. For 18 months, scientists studied Earth's atmosphere, oceans, glaciers, magnetic field, and polar regions despite growing Cold War hostility worldwide. Antarctica became one of the project's most important laboratories, where rival nations exchanged knowledge through peaceful collaboration despite political disagreements. Researchers freely shared information, proving cooperation remained possible while governments competed across military alliances, ideological conflicts, and geopolitical rivalries worldwide. The remarkable success convinced world leaders Antarctica could become humanity's greatest example of peaceful cooperation instead of international conflict afterward. World leaders recognized a rare opportunity, choosing negotiation instead of confrontation before Antarctic territorial disputes escalated into dangerous international conflict. In 1959, 12 countries signed the Antarctic Treaty, creating history's first agreement governing an entire continent through peaceful international cooperation. 2 years later, the treaty officially entered into force, transforming Antarctica's future through diplomacy instead of military confrontation and conquest. Rather than eliminating territorial claims completely, the treaty suspended them, preventing nations from expanding or enforcing ownership against competing countries. Countries keeping Antarctic claims retained legal positions, yet nobody could strengthen, enlarge, or militarily defend those territorial boundaries against rivals. Nations rejecting existing claims remained free to preserve their legal positions without recognizing competing declarations or abandoning future territorial rights. Instead of resolving ownership permanently, participating governments agreed to postpone disagreements indefinitely while protecting peaceful scientific cooperation throughout Antarctica together. The treaty declared Antarctica exclusively dedicated to peaceful purposes, prohibiting military bases, weapons testing, and armed exercises across the continent. Nuclear explosions and radioactive waste disposal became prohibited, protecting Antarctica's fragile environment while ensuring scientific research remained the highest priority. Every participating nation gained freedom conducting peaceful scientific research anywhere across Antarctica regardless of disputed territorial boundaries or ownership claims. Even during the Cold War's darkest years, the Antarctic Treaty preserved scientific cooperation despite growing political hostility between global superpowers. Countries competing fiercely elsewhere continued sharing scientific knowledge, supporting rescue missions, and collaborating successfully within Earth's harshest environment despite tensions. Antarctica became a global symbol proving peaceful. International cooperation remained possible despite ideological divisions, military rivalries, and geopolitical competition worldwide. Today, dozens of research stations operate across Antarctica, while thousands of scientists investigate glaciers, astronomy, geology, marine ecosystems, and climate. Ancient ice cores preserve tiny atmospheric bubbles, allowing researchers to reconstruct Earth's past climate accurately across thousands of previous years. Yet one important question remains because territorial claims still exist despite international agreements preventing open political confrontation between competing nations. As technology advances and demand for valuable resources increases, Antarctica's strategic importance continues growing beneath its frozen landscape each decade. The future depends whether nations continue honoring the Antarctic Treaty when scientific, economic, and geopolitical pressures become impossible to ignore. Although the Antarctic Treaty created peace, it never permanently solved ownership, instead postponing unresolved territorial questions for future generations worldwide. For decades, that compromise worked remarkably well as nations prioritized scientific discovery over confrontation, military rivalry, and territorial enforcement there. But the world has changed dramatically since 1959, with population growth increasing pressure on energy, raw materials, and strategic resources. Climate change and improving technology are making Antarctica accessible, raising fears the continent may eventually become too valuable to ignore. Beneath Antarctica's ice, scientists know significant coal deposits exist, while geological studies suggest possible oil, gas, and valuable minerals there. Their true scale remains unknown because most of Antarctica has never been fully explored beneath its ancient ice sheet today. Even enormous reserves would be extremely difficult to extract because cold, moving glaciers, violent storms, and isolation create engineering challenges. Large-scale mining would also be incredibly expensive and environmentally dangerous, threatening one of Earth's most fragile and protected ecosystems today. For now, resource extraction remains unrealistic, yet governments still consider what technological advances might make possible in the distant future. Another resource could become even more valuable than minerals or oil, the immense quantity of fresh water stored across Antarctica. As drought, climate change, and population growth strain global supplies, Antarctica holds nearly 70% of Earth's fresh water within glaciers. No serious plan currently exists for transporting Antarctic ice worldwide, but its immense freshwater reserve remains strategically important for humanity. As natural resources become scarcer elsewhere, Antarctica's economic, environmental, and geopolitical importance will likely continue increasing across future decades worldwide. Climate change is already transforming Antarctica, with satellite observations showing some regions losing ice faster than scientists previously expected there. Massive ice shelves have fractured and collapsed into surrounding oceans, while several major glaciers continue retreating across vulnerable Antarctic regions. These changes affect global sea levels because Antarctica contains enough frozen water to reshape coastlines and threaten communities worldwide significantly. Scientists monitor Antarctica continuously because its changes influence ocean circulation, weather systems, climate stability, and millions living beyond the continent. Despite these challenges, international cooperation continues through more than 70 research stations representing dozens of nations from around the world. Scientists there investigate climate history, astronomy, biology, geology, atmospheric processes, and technologies connected with future space exploration missions worldwide today. Antarctica's clear atmosphere and minimal light pollution make it one of Earth's finest locations for observing the distant universe clearly. Microorganisms surviving beneath Antarctic ice help researchers study how life might exist on icy moons orbiting distant planets elsewhere today. Antarctica has therefore become far more than frozen wilderness, serving as one of humanity's greatest and most valuable scientific laboratories. Tourism has also expanded rapidly, bringing tens of thousands of visitors annually aboard specially designed expedition ships to Antarctica's coastlines. Most tourists remain within carefully managed landing areas, while strict environmental regulations control activities and reduce damage to fragile ecosystems. Visitors cannot wander freely, because even seeds carried on boots could introduce species that never previously existed within Antarctica's environment. The Antarctic Treaty system expanded significantly in 1991 through the Protocol on Environmental Protection, strengthening continent-wide environmental safeguards and responsibilities. The protocol declared Antarctica a natural reserve devoted to peace and science, while prohibiting mineral resource activities except scientific research. It also established strict requirements for wildlife protection, waste management, pollution prevention, and responsible human activity across the continent itself. This agreement transformed Antarctica from political neutrality alone into one of the most heavily protected natural environments anywhere on Earth. Yet international agreements survive only through continued support, and every generation must decide whether inherited promises should remain protected worldwide. As technology advances and global competition intensifies, political, economic, and strategic pressure surrounding Antarctica may continue increasing over future decades. The treaty has succeeded because nations repeatedly chose cooperation over conflict for more than 6 decades despite profound international rivalries. Antarctica proves nations competing elsewhere can still collaborate when science, environmental protection, and humanity's shared future matter more than conquest. Today, no nation truly owns Antarctica because humanity decided some places are too important to belong to any single country. Whether that decision survives future challenges remains uncertain, but Antarctica belongs to everyone and no one at the same time. Every answer reveals another question. Keep exploring. Subscribe to TerraLayer.